I want to tell you something and I need you to stay with me, because this is the part where most people scroll away, right before the thing that would have changed everything. You're going to make it, but not the way you're planning, not through the version of this story you've been rehearsing in your head. The path that actually works looks nothing like the one that feels safe. And the person you become at the end of it is someone the current version of you would find quietly unsettling. That's not a warning, that's the truth. And the truth is what nobody sends back. Here's what this is. Every level of wealth has a cost that doesn't show up in any account. A psychological tax, a relationship tax, an identity tax, and the people who made it to the other side, including me, paid all of them. Some willingly, some without realizing it until it was too late. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what it actually feels like, what changes, what disappears, what you grieve without expecting to, and what you gain that turns out to matter more than the number ever did. Pay attention to the moments that feel small, because I promise you, those are the ones that actually decided this. At the beginning, money doesn't feel like a tool. It feels like oxygen, and you don't think about oxygen until you're running out of it. You know your account balance the way someone knows a wound. You check it constantly, not because you want to, because the alternative, not knowing, is worse. A $40 overdraft fee isn't an inconvenience at this level. It's a cascade. It's the late fee that becomes the unpaid bill that becomes the credit hit that follows you for 7 years. You stand in the grocery store and do the math in your head without moving your lips. The good olive oil goes back. The store brand goes in the cart. And here's the thing nobody tells you about that moment. You will remember it, not as humiliation, as fuel, the specific clean burning kind. This is where most people make the first critical mistake. They get a small raise and they let the lifestyle creep in quietly. New subscription, better apartment, a car payment that seems manageable, and suddenly the raise is gone before it ever arrived. The expenses didn't grow, they just followed the money home. Here's what I need you to hear instead. The habits forming right now, the flinching, the calculating, the choosing, are building the wiring that everything else will run on. You are not behind. You are calibrating. And this calibration, painful as it is, will matter when the numbers get bigger and the decisions become irreversible. You will screenshot a 0 credit card balance someday and feel something you cannot explain to anyone around you. Because it's not about the number, it's about the proof that you can change a number on purpose, that the math can move in your direction. That's a small truth, but it's the first one, and the first one is the one you never forget. The first time you cross 5 figures, something in your chest quietly rearranges. You check the account 3 times in a day, not from anxiety, from disbelief, like you expect the number to correct itself, to realize it made a mistake about you. Here's what's actually happening. You have a buffer for the first time in your adult life. Not money, a buffer. Money gets spent. A buffer is different. A buffer means the next emergency doesn't end you. It just costs you. That distinction will feel minor until the emergency comes. And it always comes. This is the level where the first fork appears. And most people take the wrong path here without realizing there was a choice at all. One path. You let the safety feel like success. You expand slightly, a nicer apartment, a newer phone, a lifestyle that quietly grows to match the new number. And 2 years later, you're comfortable and you're still exactly here. The other path, you sit with the discomfort of having something to protect. You ask what it's actually for, and you start building on top of it instead of living on top of it. You're going to open a brokerage account. You're going to stare at it for 3 weeks before you put anything in. And the day after you finally invest, something small, nothing that changes your life, the market is going to drop. And every instinct you have will say, take it out. You got in at the wrong time. This was a mistake. This is not a financial test. This is a character test. And what it's actually asking is, can you hold a decision through discomfort? Can you believe in a direction before it proves itself? Most people fail it. They pull the money back out. They call it being smart. They're not being smart. They're letting fear write the strategy. And fear is a terrible long-term investor. You keep it in. It's the most important financial decision you will ever make, and it involves almost no money at all. You are doing everything right. And this is where it gets dangerous. The emergency fund is built. The 401k is maxed. The credit card is zero every month. You are, by every conventional measure, responsible. And the people around you tell you so. Friends ask how you did it. Family members treat you like you figured something out. You haven't figured it out. You figured out how to survive well. That's not the same thing. One night, and this night will come. Probably at midnight, probably alone. You run the numbers honestly, all the way out. 40 years of disciplined saving at your current income, reasonable returns, no catastrophes, and you look at the final number and feel something tighten in your chest. It's enough. It's fine. It's not what you want. And for the first time, you understand that want and enough are not the same destination. This is the competence plateau. You have become skilled at a game that has a ceiling. And the skills that got you here, discipline, patience, delayed gratification, will not alone get you further. You need something different now. And getting that thing requires a kind of risk that discipline-trained people find almost physically uncomfortable. So you start something on the side. You don't call it a business. That feels like too much. It's just a thing you do on weekends. It makes almost nothing. Your friends will roll their eyes, gently, lovingly, but they'll roll them. Because it looks like you're working when you don't have to. Like you're choosing stress. They don't see what you see yet. They don't see that a salary is a ceiling dressed up as a floor. They don't see that trading hours for a fixed rate, however comfortable, is a trade with a hard limit built in. You see it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The discipline that carried you here now gets pointed at something that compounds differently. Not safety anymore, speed. And speed has a different kind of cost. There is a moment somewhere in this range that nobody prepares you for. You check your net worth on a Thursday morning, and it grew last month by more than your annual salary when you started out. You didn't do anything. You were asleep. You were in a meeting. You were making dinner. And while you did all of those ordinary things, the machine you built made money without you. That is what leverage actually feels like. Not power, not confidence, something stranger, the quiet realization that the rules you spent your whole life playing by were only ever one set of rules, and there are others. This is also the loneliest stretch of the entire journey. Understand that now so it doesn't ambush you. You start saying no, not to bad things, to things that used to be automatic yeses. A destination wedding across 2 time zones, a group trip where the split is equal, and you'd be subsidizing 3 people. An investment opportunity pitched by a friend who has vision and no financial discipline. No, no, no. And this is where something real happens. People will take those no's personally. The friend who pitched you the deal will feel rejected. The group will quietly resent your absence from the trip. Someone from your old life will say you've changed. They're not entirely wrong. You have changed. But here's the thing they won't say and you need to hear. The people trying to spend your time and capital right now are not bad people. They are just not on the same trajectory. And that incompatibility is not a moral failure on their part. It's just true. And truth at this stage is worth more than comfort. You now have something more dangerous than money. You have evidence. Your investments returned real money this year, not projected, not theoretical, actual money that arrived without your labor attached to it. And evidence changes the way you make decisions. Once you know what an asset feels like, not theoretically, physically in your account, you start viewing every hour differently. Every hour spent on something that doesn't compound is an hour the machine isn't running. That's not a philosophy, that's math. And once you start doing that math, you cannot stop. Nobody warns you about what happens in the mile before the milestone. You are close enough to see it. And the proximity doesn't feel triumphant. It feels pressurized. Like standing in front of a door you've been walking toward for years, and now that it's within reach, you're suddenly not sure what's on the other side. You are making decisions at higher stakes now, and mistakes at this level don't just cost money, they cost time, sometimes a year, sometimes 3, and 3 years at this stage is not what 3 years used to cost. You'll take a real loss on something, not a dip, a loss, a decision you made based on reasoning that seemed sound and it was wrong. You'll sit with that number and feel something more precise than regret. You'll feel the gap between who you thought you were as a decision maker and who you actually are. That gap is not comfortable, but it is where the actual precision gets built. You turn down a salary offer at some point in this range, a number that would have seemed impossible 3 years ago, a role with a title and a team and the kind of visibility that used to represent a rival, and you say no, calmly, without drama. Your parents will not understand. You'll tell them it didn't feel right. That's partially true. The fuller truth is, you ran the math and the salary, however large, is a ceiling, and you are done accepting ceilings. Then it happens. Not on a Friday, not at a party, a Tuesday. Your brokerage app updates. The number crosses 7 figures for the first time. You thought you'd feel different. You thought there would be something. Release, euphoria, some clean sense of arrival. There isn't. There's a quiet, practical satisfaction, almost clinical. And then, almost immediately, a realization that hits harder than the milestone itself. $1 million at a 4% return generates $40,000 a year. That is not freedom. That is a starting point. And you knew that intellectually for years, but knowing it and feeling it are 2 completely different things. The milestone is not the destination. The milestone is the proof of concept, and now you need a bigger concept. Here is what changes and what nobody tells you. You stop making decisions from fear. Not immediately, not entirely, but something in the architecture of your choices shifts. You stop picking the safe version by default. You start choosing the right version, even when it costs something you can measure. You leave a profitable partnership because the alignment is gone. You back a project that everyone in your network thinks is too early. You take 3 weeks away from everything, and for 5 days of it, you don't check your inbox. Not the whole trip. 5 days. And those 5 days feel more expensive than anything you have purchased in years. Not in money. In the internal machinery it takes to hold them. This is where rich people quietly become different. Not in how they spend. In how they protect their attention. Time becomes the thing. Not money. Time. You start calculating your hours the way you used to calculate your balance. You decline a dinner that would have been automatic. Not because you don't like the person. Because the 3 hours door-to-door spent on a conversation that doesn't go anywhere, you can feel the cost of that now, viscerally, and you cannot unfeel it. Your business is doing real numbers. You are in rooms with people who operate at the level you're moving toward. You watch them, not what they own, how they think. The patience is different at altitude. They don't need to win every position. They need to stay in the game longer than the people who left. That distinction sounds small. It is not small. It is the entire game. You make a trade that returns more than your first year's salary in a single quarter, and one that goes to 0. And here is the moment that separates people at this level. You feel both of those equally, and neither one decides the next move. The machine keeps running. You keep running it. You stop explaining the portfolio to people who don't have context for it, not because you're protecting yourself, because the conversation becomes imprecise. And imprecision, when the stakes are this high, is not just uncomfortable, it is dangerous. It makes you say things in the wrong frame that you then have to manage. Silence is cheaper. At some point in this range, something shifts that has no line item in any account. Your reputation becomes a financial instrument. It earns returns whether you're in the room or not. When you express interest in a deal, other capital follows. When you pass, people notice the pass. Your judgment has a market price now, and that price moves independently of your net worth. That is a new kind of power, and it arrives with a new kind of responsibility that nobody formally assigns to you, Because here is what also arrives. Quietly, without announcement, without anyone flagging it as a moral moment. The decisions you make now have consequences for people you will never meet. A company you hold a position in restructures its workforce, you know the numbers, you review the analysis, the margin profile improves, your position increases in value, and somewhere 140 people are having a conversation with their families tonight that you set in motion. You don't call the CFO, you don't intervene, you hold. I'm not telling you this to condemn it, I'm telling you this because it will happen. And the version of you that gets there needs to have already decided what kind of person they are. Because in the moment, the analysis is clean and the decision is fast. And the weight of it arrives later, slowly, when you're somewhere quiet. This is where rich people quietly become different in a way they don't talk about. The distance between your decision and its consequence starts to widen. And the widening happens so gradually, you almost miss it. You walk into rooms you used to only read about. Not celebrity rooms, rooms where actual things are decided before they're announced. You earn your place at those tables not through charm or access, but through pattern recognition and capital. That is a different experience of influence. No spectacle, no performance, just a room that calibrates to your judgment. Here is the trap. The access starts to feel like identity. You start to believe that the rooms you're invited into are proof of who you are. They are not. They are a result of what you built. The moment you begin curating access instead of earning it, the moment you protect the position instead of growing it, something important starts to reverse. And reversals at this level are not loud. They are quiet and slow and very hard to stop. The isolation isn't loneliness. I want to be precise about this, because if you mistake one for the other, it will cost you. Loneliness is the absence of connection. This is different. This is the presence of connection and the absence of translation. The people in your life are real. The relationships are real. But your context, the actual daily texture of what your life consists of, has become untranslatable to almost everyone who knew you before. When a $500,000 position size is a tactical move rather than a life event, and it genuinely is at this point, you cannot say that out loud in most rooms. Not because you're protecting yourself, because the statement becomes a projection screen. It lands as arrogance or as threat or as a confession. It becomes about them instead of the idea. So you stop saying it, and the stopping creates distance. And the distance is real. The meetings are different now. You speak for 4 minutes in a room of serious people, and the room repositions itself around what you said. Not because of your volume, because of your track record and the precision of those 4 minutes. This is power in its most compressed form. No spectacle, no raised voice. Just a room that calibrates to your judgment. Your wealth now outlives your decisions. There are structures in place, trusts, entities, allocations that will continue to function after you are gone. Sit with that. You built something that doesn't need you to breathe to keep breathing. That fact is strange. It is quietly one of the strangest feelings in the entire journey. And it is also the closest thing to permanence that a person can build. You give more than you ever have. And here is the honest version of why. At some point, money stops measuring your worth in any way that matters to you. And giving, a real gift, a consequential one, made without announcement, is one of the only remaining decisions that still feels fully like a choice. Not an optimization, not a positioning move, a choice. But I want you to be honest with yourself about something you will spend years avoiding. The question of what it was all for doesn't get answered by the number. The number just buys you the silence to finally hear yourself ask it. Right now, somewhere close by, there is a version of you, younger, tighter in the chest, quieter in the room, standing at a checkout line with a phone in their hand. The balance hasn't changed. It won't tonight. They put the better coffee back and took the store brand, and they told themselves it doesn't matter, and it does matter, and it doesn't. And both things are true at the same time. I want to say something directly to them. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not permanently defined by the number on that screen. But, and this is the part I need you to actually hear, you are being formed right now, not later, now. Every choice in this range is writing code that will run for the next 30 years. The flinch becomes instinct. The instinct becomes framework. The framework becomes the machine. The hidden cost of this journey isn't the relationships lost, though you'll lose some. It isn't the identity shifts, though they're disorienting. The hidden cost is this. You will gradually become someone who's very difficult to fully know, who carries context most people cannot access, who makes decisions that look cold from the outside and are from the inside simply precise. Whether that's worth it, I still haven't fully decided, and I've been living in the answer for years. What I can tell you is this. The machine opens every morning. It takes whoever shows up consistently, patiently, without flinching, without waiting to feel ready. The money compounds, the decisions compound, the clarity compounds. And so, quietly, irreversibly, one unremarkable Tuesday at a time, does the person? You're going to check that balance again tomorrow. The number is still the number. It still isn't enough. Go anyway.